Chris Williams, Chris Hassel. Two guys named Chris. Presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
And hello, welcome to Two Guys Named Chris. It is Wednesday, the 5th of April. College basketball season is over. We are on a Wednesday. I have the dreaded tax meeting tomorrow. And I'm
meeting?
Yeah, I'm old school. I like my guys in Western Iowa, so I got to travel to go do mine. So I'm out tomorrow morning. So that's why we're here.
Can't you just do it like over the phone or Skype or something?
You can, but we kind of have this new business thing that's been going on for the last year that I feel like I need some tax advice on.
That's probably a good idea. Our tax person's been in Vegas.
That's
got
good.
Some lady in Vegas.
Where'd you find a lady in Vegas to do your taxes?
Doug Kazarian at ESPN.
Oh, nice.
Hooked us up with her. This is 10 years ago. But, man, we end up having to pay just a ridiculous amount in taxes every year. And so we're looking for somebody new.
When you do play-by-play, I would guess you're at 1099.
Yeah. When I contract. So that's tough. What? So you're going to go, where is it at? Is this guy in or gal?
Dunlap, Iowa.
Dunlap? Never heard of it. Is
really
that over by
buddy of mine from
Clarinda?
College. He's really, really, really good. He's really good.
You seem a little low to me. You seem a little low. You want to
just
a little bit, yeah.
Is that a little better?
Yeah, a little better.
This is what happens when we don't have Van Winkle.
So Van Wink's gone today, and
turns into a hellscape of a show.
Well, in the link that he sent, like, is for you. So like I'm in this mega broadcast center where I see all the stuff that Van Wink normally sees, like different things I can do. Like I can change it. Look, I'm just clicking things around right now. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm putting you up there. I don't know what that is. I can like screw with the show.
Yeah. I see this every. Do you want to see this every day? You can see this
Yeah. Yeah,
we just try and make it like as nice as possible for you and easy, but
nice and clean. No, but I like this. I can click on Wyatt. Look at that. I just popped this comment up. Did this tax guy work at the children's prison? Is Dunlap by? Is it?
Welcome to the off season.
Is it by Clarinda?
Or no, it's not. It's like in Northwest Iowa, so it's like a 2-hour drive for me. But that's how much respect I have for this guy. I want to meet face to face with him. So
I'm like a walking billboard today. My Fairway hat is like perfectly placed right next to the Fairway bug. I've got the Iowa Everywhere pullover on.
I love those Fairway hats that they sent us too.
Oh.
They fit perfectly.
Sometimes I sleep
wraps
in them.
around your head.
Mm-hmm. I think my herpes is healing nicely on my neck.
Oh,
it's gone.
I was wondering about
or ringworm, whatever you guys diagnosed me with a few different things, but I think I'm good there. I'm back home, thank God.
I was actually thinking herpes. I legitimately thought you had herpes on your neck, and I didn't know how you got it, and I didn't even want to ask questions. But it's like
I'm telling you, man, it's that
roaming around Houston.
Yeah, well, it's that minute suite at the Atlanta airport, sleeping on that rubber.
That rubber couch,
just laid right on that rubber.
What's Cousin Eddie say? Don't forget the gerbil and the rubber sheets. Christmas Vacation. Have you ever looked that up about how big of a pervert Cousin Eddie and his wife actually are? Do you know what that means?
Is he insinuating that he puts the gerbil up his ass?
Yes.
That's what I thought. That's what
we all just kind of gloss over that because it's Cousin Eddie, but that is delinquent behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. I'm not. Listen, I ain't here to judge what gets your rocks off, but that's really effed up.
South Park has some episodes where stuff like that happens. Like what is the pull? Like what draws someone to say, you know what? You know, it'd be really, really awesome is if I put a gerbil up my ass.
I don't know. I don't get it. If anybody's in the comments section and you've ever done this and you can explain the joy, let us know.
How does it even work? I mean,
well, and then the rubber sheets part's weird. I guess that's just to keep the fluid from getting on your real sheets, right?
what fluid?
Well, I'm assuming if a gerbil's crawling around your ass, there's going to be poop everywhere, would be my guess.
Oh, my God.
That's always how I've interpreted it.
Man.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it might. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it like that. Because if you Google Cousin Eddie and this, like, there's actual literature out there about what he's talking about, and it's really messed up. Cousin Eddie is a sick bastard.
Usually we get into this stuff toward the end of the show. I think it might be a little too early for this.
Really want to thank our friends from Fairway. We are in the Channel Seed Studios. Yeah, Gus says the show is off to a great start. Thanks, Gus.
Well, this is what's going to happen now that basketball season's over.
Yeah, welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, this is the off-season show.
Welcome to the show.
We started this show like right at the start of football season, so.
Want to talk about the Masters? No, we're going to talk about gerbils. I actually, for those of you who are really into the Masters, I am interviewing Jeffrey Benson, the lead guy at Circa Sports, the sports book. And I'm going to interview him later today for the CW pod to kind of do some Masters betting breakdown. Now, this is a deal, and people are always like, what do you mean Circa gives you better odds? Compare their odds in the Masters to any of the other big box operations. You'll get 20, 30% value if you want to bet on the match. I did this last night. Like, I actually researched this. Like, I want to bet Max Homa to win. Like, you'll get a significantly better price at Circa on the Masters. So if I'm assuming a lot of you are going to do your research today, going to do those bets today. I know
that's what I'm doing today because I've got. Are you in Dave Zavolinsky's pool? Yeah.
God, yes.
I haven't done any research yet because I've been so just focused on college basketball. But now
I don't even know if it's legal. But I was thinking about this because Dave's a good friend of both of ours, and I've been thinking of ways to get him involved in what we're doing here. I don't even know if it's legal, but Dave could be like the pool guy for Iowa Everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Just constantly coming up with pools for our people.
Oh, he would do that.
He'd love it. This guy's unbelievable. This spreadsheet that he's got, and it's constantly updating. Mm-hmm. The amount of work he has to put into that is insane to me.
Yeah, and he loves it.
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about. Let's get to the top story, and then we will touch on some Masters. I want to touch on the college basketball offseason, and we're going to play a game today.
Oh.
Where I have compiled the best comments that I got from my Facebook page about the Angel Reese, Clark saga. I've compiled about 10 of them, and we're going to read them to you guys and analyze what some of the good people, well, they're not all good people, what some of the people on Facebook are saying about this.
It's amazing how off the rails that went.
I've been thinking about this, Chris, and I don't want to do the latest, greatest thing. You and I have both been covering sports in this state in some capacity for almost 20 years, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know if I remember. There's one, the Southeast poll, or it wasn't that. It was the story this year, and I stayed the hell away from it. We never talked about it, about the boy and girls wrestling with boys at that high school, and they had to, because Keith Murphy was all over it. They talked about it on the Murphy and Andy show.
Talking about that hazing thing?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And that brought out a different level of commentary. Mm-hmm. But that's different because that's almost more of a political story than it is a sports story, is how I viewed it. Mm-hmm. This Angel Reese, Clark story, I think brought out a different level of emotion that I think I've ever seen in an Iowa sports story before. It's crazy. This thing was a freaking lightning rod. Have you ever experienced anything like this covering sports in the state of Iowa? Because we see like, oh, that coach should be fired, or Brian Ferentz is a bad coordinator. This brought like a different level of ugly out. Like it was really, really weird the last 48 hours.
It was. And we went on, our last show was like right when the game ended. We went on the air and, we didn't think that much of what Angel Reese did.
No.
We both said we liked it. We had no problem with it. This is good for the game because we want stuff like this. Now, I'm not saying we want just outright taunting for 20 seconds, but we want it's great to give it back to Caitlin Clark. She can handle it. Like we said, she can handle it. She can dish it. She can handle it. And as we've learned, she says she has no problem with it. So that really should be the end of the story. And we're going to talk about it today because we haven't had a chance to talk about it since the end of the game.
Can I read her direct quote real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is Caitlin yesterday to Outside the Lines on ESPN. Quote, I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. I'm just one that competes, and she competed. I think everybody knew there was going to be a little trash talk in the entire tournament. It's not just me and Angel. We're all competitive. We all show our emotions in a different way. Angel is a tremendous player. I have nothing but respect for her. I love her game. The way she rebounds the ball, scores the ball is absolutely incredible. I'm a big fan of her and that entire LSU team. They played an amazing game.
Perfect. Could not have diffused the situation any better. Could not have taken more of a high road. Now, behind closed doors, she might have some other things to say. I can't wait to get on the court with her next year and give it right back to her. But if she doesn't openly have a problem with it, you shouldn't either. Like, you can have your opinion, fine. If you don't like it, that's fine. I get it. Some people just they want sportsmanship all the time. They're not into that sort of thing. That's fine. But the people that are just outright angry and nasty at the others who have a differing view of it, that's what I don't get. Like I've been accused by a lot of people of being anti-Iowa because I didn't have a problem with what Reese did. Yeah. Well, there you go again, always taking the anti-Iowa side. Well, how's that anti-Iowa? I'm for that. I'm for it when Caitlin Clark does it. I'm for it when somebody does it back to her. It doesn't have. There doesn't have to be an agenda here. You can either like it or not.
And like you said, when we went on the air on Sunday, I'll speak for myself, and I think I speak for you and Matt too. It hadn't even crossed my mind that this would turn into a racial thing. I hadn't even thought about that.
No.
And quickly it did, and I do understand to a certain extent why it did from Angel Reese's side. Let me also say this, that we can have our opinions, and Angel Reese could still look back at this in 10 years when she's older and maybe regret it, in a sense. I would guess that she probably would. This is just me spitballing as a 38-year-old man. I mean, we've all done some things in the heat of emotion.
She's 20 years old.
Yeah.
She's a sophomore.
Where we look back on it and we go, yeah, I wish I would have handled that a little differently. I would guess that a lot of athletes, it's a powder keg when you get into those emotional moments. And I'm sure Kim Mulkey, a master motivator, played up this Caitlin Clark Iowa angle that her star player Angel Reese talked about a lot after the game about put some respect on our name, and I'm paraphrasing.
That's the thing I'll never understand is this whole disrespected card that they were playing. Like, I think you're right. I think they somehow got motivation from Iowa not guarding South Carolina at the 3-point line. They somehow took that as a slight at them because they're in the SEC, because they're friends with some of those players on South Carolina. They somehow turned that into Iowa disrespecting them, even though that was a different team.
I think too, like, so, man, so much gets lost in translation, especially in social media. But my read on it, again, like, this sounds bad considering what we're talking about. This is not a black and white situation. There's gray area in every conversation that we always have, everything.
Yes.
And when Angel Reese called it disrespectful that she wasn't guarding the other team, well, that's a dumb comment on the surface because it's basketball and it's strategy, and she was doing what her coach was saying. I think what Angel Reese was saying was when Caitlin was kind of mocking that player from South Carolina and like waving her hand off like, no, you're not good enough to guard.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what she was talking about, but in the heat of the moment, she's in a press conference and fans don't like it and they're sticking up for their own, and it just got ugly. I do see how an African-American player like Angel Reese would take it the way she did. Because in her mind, she did the same thing as Caitlin Clark. Now, I know a lot of you are screaming at your radio. It's not the same thing. And you're right. It's not. They were different scenarios.
You're not on radio anymore, Chris.
You're listening in your radio on your car.
Your Alexa speaker, or however the hell you...
Yeah, we're doing it all. You're watching us on YouTube. You're whatever. But right, like, couldn't you see how if you're in Caitlin or in Angel Reese's head, put yourself in her shoes.
I just find it impossible to put myself in her shoes.
Well,
because I don't know what she's
try. Try.
Okay.
Try to imagine that Kim Mulkey has been for 2 days playing I guarantee Kim Mulkey has been playing this angle up. That the disrespect. I guarantee it. Like, the whole team was talking about that after the game.
Yeah.
They're taking it off of their coach. And I don't know, just a different level of ugly that I hope we don't return to. Real quick, good point here. Kyle chimes in. He's watching on YouTube. He said the Carson King topic charged a lot of people up.
Yes, that's a good point.
I forgot about that one.
That one was crazy. And it's a lot of this. You know that, well, we had people digging into Carson's past. You know that people are doing the same thing with Caitlin, with Reese. Anytime somebody, this is a separate topic, I think, but anytime somebody goes this level of star and has talked about this much, you know that there's just people just digging in, seeing if they can find anything. And thankfully, Caitlin's just been class act from day one. So
Eric Pratt from Fort Dodge and I were texting. You know Eric, right? I think you've met Eric before, probably. That the Iowa athletic department needs to just let Caitlin Clark and Lisa Bluter handle its PR.
Yeah, they do a better job than that athletic department does sometimes.
Masterful. The Jill Biden thing, and then Lisa Bluter comes out and just politely shoots it down. Right? Like,
yeah.
They were masterful. Moving on, I wanted to read this. Greg Doyle writes for the Indianapolis Star. He's a columnist. Covers a lot of Big Ten. He's formerly a national guy, really well respected in this world. I'm going to read you 3 paragraphs from his column. Okay? I thought it was, honestly, it's what I've been thinking, but I didn't know how to put it without being a total Iowa homer, and I thought this was really good. We've seen someone like Caitlin Clark before, but never on the women's side. She's like Steph Curry. She's like Pete Maravich. She's like the greatest singular talent in women's basketball history. Big words, and if you can't bring yourself to say them, I get it. It can feel like you're dismissing the past, dismissing the greatness of Diana Taurasi, Tamika Catchings, Cheryl Miller, Maya Moore, Cheryl Swoops, Candace Parker, and your favorite player here. Someday you'll see when Caitlin Clark joins the past, 20 years from now, after she's done at Iowa and in the Olympics and in the WNBA, and it'll feel safer, less disrespectful to those who came before her, to acknowledge that she is the greatest of all time. What do you think of that?
I think it's possible. I don't know. I guess I know what a big deal Griner was in college, but it was different. She's a different kind of player.
Yeah, different deal.
Diana Taurasi and Candace Parker. But I mean, Caitlin Clark has 2 years left. I mean, what is she going to do in these next 2 years? How much better is she going to get? But that right there, that's an example. I guarantee you that article just pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah.
She just lost.
What do you think, Angel Reese?
Put some respect on LSU's name.
Yeah, that's after they lost. He wrote that. But I've been thinking that too. I actually had somebody who's in women's college basketball text me a couple weeks ago that she's the best college women's basketball player of all time already. And this is somebody from nobody at Iowa texted me that. And I got to kind of thinking about it. And it's really, really just, I think it's provocative, no doubt. But I think that it definitely feels different watching her and watching 9.9 million people tuned into the championship, which is a record that doubled.
That was the average. That was the average. It peaked at 12 million, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, most watched women's college basketball game of all time. And to be honest, it wasn't even that far off of the men's championship game on Monday. Men's championship game still drew more, but it wasn't that much more.
I'm actually surprised. I didn't see the men's number yet. I thought the women would beat them, to be honest.
No, that's so hard. So the men's game, I think the men's game averaged 14, the lowest of all time. It was the lowest rated men's championship game of all time.
Wow.
And it was the highest rated women's college basketball game of all time, but it's still not close. I mean, that's where that kind of puts it into perspective, how far off we still are. And the scales are tipping toward the women, but not there yet.
No,
and maybe never will be. I mean, that'd be tough to overtake the men's game.
Well, you've got 100 years to catch up on.
Yeah, right.
Like that. It's just you got a major head start in the men's game, but there's no doubt that this thing has taken off. It's not is taking off. Like the women's game has taken off, and I agreed. We both said it on Sunday that they got to find a way to put LSU and Iowa, do like the men do on the first Tuesday night of the season or whatever it is, and they have the 4 teams playing Madison Square Garden or whatever. They got to take advantage of this.
Absolutely. And I think if you're Iowa, you want it. I think if you're LSU, you want it. Now, there might be some at LSU saying, "Oh, we're the champs. We don't need to play them again." Maybe we don't want to play them again. We don't want to be upstaged by all your articles and your stories on Caitlin Clark. But I guarantee you it would be a lot more interesting and have a much, much higher rating if LSU plays Iowa as compared to, if they play UConn,
Want to thank our friends at Fairway Meat and Grocery for sponsoring 2 guys named Chris. We are going to now talked about the response. So I pulled some of what I thought were the more insightful responses from my Facebook page.
I had so many responses on Twitter that I couldn't even get through half of them. People were so charged up about this topic.
Campbell, this is a good one. Another rude sports player.
Talking about Angel Reese?
Yeah.
I assume. Okay.
A lot of rude sports players out there. Laverne says that Reese had 15 points, and who has 30, dum-dum? Good point. Caitlin Clark had more points.
If it was an individual thing, yeah, okay.
Ricky writes, very poor sportsmanship. She should be suspended.
Suspended? We're going to suspend Angel Reese for the first 10 games of next season because of what she did at the end of that game.
She pointed at her ring finger and used bad language. Tammy says it just showed how her team is lacking class. I was always taught that you play fair and square. You have to be a good sportsman-like conduct. If you want to bitch, you do it at home. I can get with that, Tammy. Yeah.
Sure. There are a lot of people that feel that way. They don't want to see this in their sports.
Barb writes, let's play if I was coach. Okay.
All right, Coach Barb.
If I was coach, the staff and players would not have access to social media accounts. Oh,
okay. That sounds like that's Ferentz from
Kirk Ferentz.
10 years ago.
Social media will be the downfall of this generation of kids. How come LSU didn't show up for the national anthem or shake hands at the end? That's what Barb wants to know. You can't take their social media away in 2023 when it's how some of them are making a living.
The shaking hands thing, I would have to watch again to see how it all went down. But that is a little. None of the players shook hands?
I didn't see that, but I feel like I would have heard more about that if that was actually a thing.
I've seen other people say that they didn't shake hands, but I don't know. I mean, you win a national championship, you start celebrating. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't happen sometimes, but
I saw. I mean, I don't know about the players, but I saw a still photo of Kim Mulkey and Caitlin.
Oh, I'm
Clark.
sure the coaches shook hands. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. BJ says she done me that way, I would slap her in the mouth. Jeez.
God.
Rob says low life crap. She's not Southern. Make them shake hands. That kills them.
Huh?
Rudy says, you two cyclone loving jerks, your show sucks.
And this is
3 exclamation points.
This was responses to us saying that we didn't have a problem with what Reese did at the end of the game.
Correct.
Cyclone loving jerks.
Sam,
this is good. I love Sam.
This is the best one. 2 guys named idiots.
That's good. That's clever.
You two obviously come from second-class educational institutions if you love college athletes taunting others directly. You go to an academic institution to become a good person, and why idiot pundits like yourself are ruining college sports. This country is going to hell in a hurry if we love this type of idiot behavior.
Jeez. That's
direct shots at St. Ambrose and Iowa State.
So this guy says you go to an academic institution to become a good person. Is that why people go to college, to be good people? Are they teaching you, like, are you taking like character classes in college?
We should turn that into two. We should turn that into
2 guys named idiots.
We really should make that a shirt. That'd be our highest selling shirt. With like our pictures by it. We do like a silhouette of Sam's Facebook image. Hell, I'll even give him some of the proceeds. I'm fine with that. Mike. Now this one is like, wow, Mike, where are we going here? Mike says 2 Chris's like bad behavior. Low class likes low class. Don't you morons know that children are watching? Do you know what impressionable means? When one of these girls winds up shooting someone else,
oh my God,
will you be there to offer up your part of the blame?
That went off the rails in a hurry.
My God, Mike.
So he's insinuating and predicting that Angel Reese is going to end up shooting somebody because She pointed to her ring finger and followed Caitlin around the court.
Or I kind of took it this way, that these young girls who are watching women's college basketball.
Oh, he's talking about the people watching.
Are going to end up shooting people because of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark's classless behavior in his
That's
work.
next level, Chris.
That's how I took it. That
I think
you
you're
and I
right.
are now part of this generational problem that ends up creating killers.
Now, why did this person become a killer? We dug into her past, and we found out that back in 2023, she was watching a women's basketball game where she saw one woman point to her ring finger and follow another woman around the court. That's when we knew.
And then she listened to a podcast that endorsed this type of behavior.
Oh yeah.
Who's your boy?
Who's your boy? This was one of the DMs. I should have sent more of my DMs in. 'Cause the DMs, that's where these people who don't have their actual names on social media, that's where they really go nuts. This guy says, so being immature and classless is now called passion. You are a moron. Sit down and shut up, pal. So I get that, and I click on his thing, and he blocked me. He fired off that DM and just blocked me.
I guarantee this guy's profile is like, I love Jesus, Christian first.
Yeah, sure.
God, country. Weird that Chris Williams has a take about this. At least he didn't drink enough to outright call someone racist this time.
Jesus.
My
God.
I will say this, and I'm clearly not posting these. There were 2 instances on my Facebook page that I had to remove people for openly using racial slurs when it comes to this story. Openly. Like, they weren't even trying to hide it. It wasn't code words.
And were they using their actual names, too, on Facebook?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
All
Simon,
because your basketball team lost?
Simon says Sam is attacking the infamous Clarinda Academy.
Oh, because that's where you went. That's your higher learning institution. Now, at the Clarinda Academy, that they did teach you about.
Yes.
Oh God, you can see my bathroom in the background now. How did that happen? What the hell happened?
I think Van Winkle jumped in here because he thought we were screwing everything up, and he changed all the angles and stuff.
Oh my God! Oh my God! What's happening here? I gotta move some stuff around here. Jesus Christ!
Again, and I do want to clarify something. Like, we're having fun with this, but like, you can't. Never. I'm not even going to acknowledge it. Never mind. It's so stupid.
Yeah, that's.
I'm not even going to talk about it. We'll move on.
Look,
we're having fun with this, but again, it took a different level of like weird and nasty. This story did. It was bizarre. And when we went on the air, I didn't even think about the racial component of this. And then when we got off,
and I didn't think that would become the story. We thought that the story was going to be the officiating.
Yeah.
And the technical foul on Caitlin Clark. And it totally devolved into madness. And then when it seems like everything is about to blow over and be done with, you get we should invite both teams to the White House. And then
that's a racial and political thing.
Right. And I would say 99% of Iowa fans thought that was just a ridiculous idea.
I didn't see one person think that was a good
idea. I did. I saw some that were like, oh, that's great. That's really cool that both teams would go. Fales said on Murph and Andy yesterday, originally he thought, oh, that's a good idea. But see, the thing is, like, he thought, oh, celebrating women's, what a great season it was. But I don't think that's what Jill Biden was saying. I mean, I think she was saying it more as just an offhanded thing, I guess. I don't know if she really meant it, but she said, yes, we should invite Iowa too. Why? Well, because they played such a great game. What? No. If you're going to invite Iowa, you're going to invite Iowa because of Caitlin Clark, because of what she has done for women's college basketball. You're also going to invite all the All-Americans. You're going to invite South Carolina because they were undefeated throughout most. If you're going to do this as a celebration of a great women's basketball season, an historic season.
Clones won the Big 12. Can we come?
There you go. You're not just going to invite the two teams in the national championship game. What, Iowa lost by more than 15 points, didn't they? I mean, it wasn't like that. Wasn't a classic game. The game wasn't even close.
Well, and then there were the people that responded to that, and it was so predictable. Well, if the team with predominantly black girls would have lost, you wouldn't have invited them. Because everybody was so charged after this thing that everything had to go that direction.
She really couldn't have said anything worse at the time that would push that button. And I tweeted out a link to that article, and Jamel Hill retweeted it.
Oh boy.
And then that's when it just exploded. And people were like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
And thankfully yesterday, Joe Biden's press secretary said, basically, we're not inviting Iowa. We look forward to LSU coming. We're not inviting Iowa.
And another masterclass in public relations by Lisa Bluter by putting out the simple, gracious tweet that she did, and then she turns it around and invites them to Carver Hawkeye Arena. Brilliant.
Come to Carver. Going to be sold out all next season.
Iowa caucus coming up. It'd actually make a lot of sense for Mr. Biden to visit Carver Hawkeye. Are we even first anymore, or did they, get rid of that?
What, the caucus?
Yeah.
I know they were like, I was first anymore.
They were talking about, they were kicking us to the curb because it takes us too late.
You totally screwed that up a few years ago. It was a laughing stock.
Well, it's happened multiple times too, right? Where we just can't get the results in because we don't actually vote. We just all stand around in a corner and listen to people yell.
Yeah, I've never been part of the caucus, but it's when people like to ask, what is that like? I was like, I don't know because I've never done it, but it's really weird. And I can tell you when I tell them how it actually goes, they're like, what?
Do you want to hear a really funny caucus story?
Sure.
So we're in college. And so this is at Iowa State. So this is a college caucus. It's like everybody who lives in one area of campus. And SEC Tony, my buddy. So he's huge Bama fan, okay? Crazy Bama fan. He hates all things Big 10 and Big 12. He thinks we play JV football. He named his dog Bama. He hates Auburn. He's the best. And me and SEC Tony are at the caucus. And we had gone around. So, on a college campus during the Iowa caucus, it's the greatest thing ever. Because all the candidates, show up and have these little parties, and you can get free pizza at all of them. It's the best thing ever. We had so much free pizza that night. We were just bursting with pride in America because of all the free Casey's pizza we had eaten that night. It was phenomenal.
So you're telling me Al Gore and John Kerry were coming through campus having pizza with you?
Yeah. Howard Dean had the best pizza party. Joan Jett was there singing, I love Howard Dean. Put a Democrat in the White House, baby. I'll never forget it. This was the same night that Howard Dean went to...
Yes.
That night.
Infamous.
So SEC Tony, during the caucus, recognizes that the Reverend Al Sharpton doesn't have anybody caucusing for him. So, in this college caucus, you have to walk up on this big stage with the microphone and explain to thousands of people why they should vote for this person. And SEC Tony walks up, grabs the mic, and he goes, Al Sharpton, why the hell not? And he drops the mic and walks off the stage. It was amazing.
Well, this is everything that's wrong with caucuses, though, because it's it's peer pressure, basically.
Well,
come over here with us. Hey, come on.
Just like this Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark conversation, our society has lost the benefit of doubt to have like these casual conversations where we, are just rational with one another.
The third Chris says that Dems lost that first position, but the GOP is still first in Iowa.
Oh, weird.
So that's odd.
Huh. That is odd. Yeah, I don't know.
I can't wait till we can get into more political discussions here on Two Guys.
Oh yeah, it's going to be epic. Masters.
Can we break down what happened yesterday?
God. Throw more gas on the fire. Masters this weekend. They start tomorrow. Scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you?
Right now, I'm a 1.
Yeah, me too.
I love major championship golf. I love the Masters, but I've been so into college basketball that I haven't even thought about it yet. Like my wife last night, she has a friend coming into town this weekend. I'm like, you're not even going to be around much this weekend, are you? Jeez. And she was like, no, I thought you'd like that. Like, why? It's like, well, you can just watch the Masters and I won't be bothering you.
My God.
And I hadn't even thought of that.
Dream woman. You know how lucky you are? I would give anything for my wife to say that. Just leave me alone.
I'll be excited come tomorrow, and then really excited once we hit the weekend. I can't wait. I love watching Tiger. My excitement level is pretty low because I don't have any expectation for Tiger to do well. What will interest me is the whole Live Golf PGA Tour now coming together for the first time at this major this season, and see the dynamics of that. See if, some Live golfers are up near the top of the leaderboard. And I just love to see it. And are these patrons at the Masters who are, they're not even allowed to think negative thoughts, I don't think. But what if, God forbid, what if somebody starts booing a Live player at Augusta National?
I was thinking the same thing because Greg Norman said if any of the Live golfers win, they're all going to join him on the green. Did you see that?
Oh, my God. Can you imagine? What would that be like?
Yeah, so for the green jacket ceremony, apparently the Live golfers have all come together. If any of them win, all of them are going to be there to, celebrate it. Could you see, old guy throwing, a pimento cheese sandwich at him?
Yeah! That could be the end of Live Golf at the Masters if that happens. And I don't want to see that. That would be horrible for the game of golf if these guys are not allowed to play in major championships anymore. Because there are a lot of good players over at Live. A lot of them are a little bit over the hill, like a Dustin Johnson. He's a little bit past his peak. Phil Mickelson, obviously, way down, past his 50s now. But they do have some younger guys that it's too bad they're not on tour anymore.
It kind of reminds me, and this is pretty different, but if you can take yourself back into the mid-90s, like IndyCar. Remember IndyCar was a big deal in the sport, and then they split up?
And it was a disaster for the sport.
Because all of a sudden, the Indy 500 had all these guys, and we'd never even heard of any of them. And it ruined the sport. The sport has never recovered from it, ever. That was really what gave NASCAR a push in the United States of America. And
I used to know all the names of the big-time IndyCar drivers when I was a kid, like 92, 93. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, and this year's pole sitter, Daryl Spankshire, racing his first race here at the Indy 500.
All those guys went to the other thing, and they were, you're watching the Indy 500, and it was all these rookies. And it was almost like a replacement players.
Yeah,
and you just don't want golf to ever get to that point. You hate having to pick if you're a fan. Are you? I'm just picking meat off the bones here after basketball, and then we'll get into more of a regular show next week. But are you? Yeah. Are you into spring football at all? Does that?
No,
I'm not paying much attention.
You're probably more into it than I have ever been.
I have to be
just covering the team and like you do. I
hate it.
I always hated having to go over to Iowa City and Ames when they would have spring games. and cover that because it didn't, like in Iowa City, the spring game was a practice. That's all it was.
It used to matter, though. They used to matter. We used to, when I was a kid, we would go to the Nebraska one. We would go to the Iowa one. We never really went to the Iowa State one because the Cyclones were so irrelevant. They were so bad. But, like, I remember, like, and maybe it was just the way my uncle framed it to me, right? Maybe it was just him telling me it was a big deal. But I remember, like, even covering McCarney teams, and, like, that they actually ran plays and they actually, like, tried, and there was a real game. Campbell has just made a mockery of spring football. You know, like they're just running out. Like it really is like it's good because you get the access and you get to talk to the coaches and the players from a media standpoint. But like, there's really not a lot of news.
Yeah,
to report.
And can you blame them? I mean,
absolutely
April.
not.
And you're going to have all these practices in the fall when you really get the full team together. There's a ton of guys that are out with, off-season surgeries. It's not exciting to me. Look, if there's like some new guy that you get to see in uniform for the first time, okay. But that's about it. It doesn't, and I'm not in football mode right now. I'll ramp up a little bit more. You got the draft coming up later this month. I'm having a hard time. I'm kind of down right now. I'm down. I'm upset.
I am too.
College basketball season's over. It's just
this week. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. I'm probably the more sensitive of the two Chris's. This week sucked a lot out of me as far as like my passion. Like it was just so ugly. I just need like get through the weekend. Yeah. Like it just was not a fun. It should have been a really fun story. Iowa women in the Final Four. Everybody should.
It was for a long time.
Yeah, just really kind of took the fun out of it.
It brought a lot of the ugliness out. That's for sure.
Basketball transfer portal, and so this is what I'm into.
Yeah, I'm more interested in transfer portal than I am, the football team getting out for a practice in the spring. I mean, I don't really care about that.
It's got a little bit of an NBA offseason feel to it. It's just a lot less high profile. But so tomorrow, for what it's worth, tomorrow ends college basketball's dead period. So they take basically a week off around the Final Four. So once tomorrow hits, it's on. That's when all these visits are going to start happening, and it's really going to get nuts. And for both of our teams, really big off seasons ahead.
It is,
and
yeah. You're right.
I feel bad for your colleagues at CBS and the Jeff Goodmans of the world who are like trying to put together these way too early top 25s.
Oh my God, yeah, you have no idea.
No, you have no clue. Between the draft and now the portal, like it's not even possible. And just the sheer, like if you look at what happened in the tournament this year, I think that the parity in college basketball is going to continue. I don't think this is a rich keep getting richer type situation because guys want to play, right? Like if you can offer somebody $30,000, they'll turn down $100 if it means they're going to be a starter compared to being a ninth man. Most guys will. They want to. I've never met a D1 college basketball player who didn't think he would wind up in the NBA. Never.
Especially when you're playing at the level of if you're at an Iowa or an Iowa State. In the transfer portal, it can help you faster than Iowa State has these great recruits coming, but they're young. They're coming in 18 years old, haven't played college basketball before. They're not going to hit the ground running like an impact fourth year transfer is going to.
I'll make a prediction right now. It's April 5th. There will be an Iowa State basketball meltdown in November of next year. And here's why. Because these fans now are so used to them being so good in November and December because they're so old. They're not going to be old next year. And that team will struggle in November and December, and people are going to think there's a problem, when in reality it's just you're younger now. Your ceiling's going to be higher in March, maybe not but in February and March, but you may not be as good. You're not throwing 24-year-olds out there in these preseason tournaments.
What is Iowa State going to be looking for in the portal? We know what
Guards.
Iowa's going to be looking for. They need some interior play.
Yeah, Iowa State's all guards. I mean, they've got 3 spots open, and I would be surprised if they didn't fill them with all guards. I mean, You've got Omaha Blues coming in as a 4. You have Trey King coming back. You have Robert Jones coming back, and you have Hassan Ward. So you've got 4 adequate big men already. I think Trey King could be really good next year. So yeah,
somebody asked a question.
This
is a little bit off topic, but somebody asked a question to us on Twitter yesterday about the Iowa women and how much attention they're going to get. Caitlin Clark, the most popular athlete on campus, selling out games. Is that good or bad for the men's program?
I mean, in theory, it shouldn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told by Iowa fans that it's a different crowd. Because Iowa fans consistently tell me that the crowd at the men's games are the old people who, they have their tickets because they're donors or whatever. So in theory, it really shouldn't matter. I don't know how it will be a bad thing for the Iowa men. I mean, just doesn't it feel like getting people in that building to watch basketball would be a good thing? Or does it make the Iowa men seem so stale at this point in the McCaffrey era that it makes it seem worse?
I think you can look at it both ways. My first thought was, okay, it didn't hurt UConn with the UConn women's success in the 90s. The UConn men have had 5 national championships since 1999. Like, it doesn't have to be something that overshadows the men's program. Like, you can have 2 incredible programs going at the same time. So it can be done. But I do see what you just said, your last point. Does it become stale? Like, when you turn on a game on let's just say Wednesday, place is packed, Caitlin Clark is going nuts, and then let's just say Sunday, the Iowa men are at home, and it's like, ooh, this isn't the same. Mm-hmm. This is not the same atmosphere. Is that
in reality, it's the same thing that it has been with them, but it looks worse because you're comparing them to the women's crowd.
And if you're going to those women's games and you see what that atmosphere is like, and then you go to the men's games, and are there some people that are like, okay, I'm only going to go to Carver 2 or 3 times a year. Am I going to do that for the men or for the women?
Yeah, you go watch this generational talent, Caitlin Clark, and a top 5 team, or this a good program. I mean, they go to tournaments, but they tend to have a ceiling and not being able to get out of the first weekend.
Can you think, though, of South Carolina, a women's program that has much more excitement and a better atmosphere for games than men? I think
used to be Tennessee. Used to be Tennessee.
Not anymore. Not anymore. The Tennessee men have a better atmosphere. UConn men have a better atmosphere than the women. It's probably only South Carolina, maybe Stanford.
Yeah, but nobody really goes to games in Stanford in general.
Yeah.
They're all too busy, at the ocean and stuff, I'm told.
Yeah.
Here's the real problem with Iowa is that damn river.
Well,
I mean, you got to decide. It's like the old Oregon Trail. Are you going to chalk it and float more than once in a week? You got to cross that river.
The women's fans don't have a problem with it. It's just those men's fans.
They're taking the ferry. They're fording the river with the oxen.
I don't know. I really,
you know what? We're going to stay over here and we're going to go hunting for some buffalo.
I think it could be a good thing, and I think the men can help. I mean, I think Caitlin Clark, the men can use her as
they should.
She's part of the program. She's part of the basketball program. She goes to men's games. That's a draw.
Yeah.
Hey, come to a men's game. You might see Caitlin on the concourse.
Before we wrap things up here in the Channel Seed Studios, Matt, watching on YouTube, wants us to start analyzing the XFL and the USFL.
Oh boy. Have you watched any XFL?
A little bit, not a lot. There's that one team that has all those Iowa State guys.
Sorry, I'm looking at Luke Jones's comment.
Man, let's just put it up here. I'll read it for the podcast audience. Can we get Mike Williams on the program so Hassel can ask how many oh my God. Never mind. I'm not going to read that.
What do you mean? You can't read that?
That's offensive.
Is it?
My dad does not kill kids in the electric chair at the Clarinda Academy.
I got 47 kills.
Wyatt
how about
says,
this? Mr. Wartburg says, need a pregame shoot-off, Caitlin against Sanford. Do stuff like that. How people would love that.
Iowa should do a Midnight Madness next year is what they really,
Yes.
if you want to get program,
With
if you want to get people to
women
care
and the
about the
men's
men,
team.
yes.
Together.
Because that will give the men some of that oomph.
That's a great idea.
And that, like a real one where it's actually late at night, you bring in like a musical act, like really invest in it. That's what they should do. I saw too that the season ticket demand is off the charts, which is not surprising to me. Yeah, Dino actually just chimed in on that. They had to pause their deposits because of that overwhelming response.
And I don't know when they did that. We noticed it yesterday. But they're probably just trying to figure out, okay, what do we do here? Are we going to open up the whole stadium, the whole season? Because you know what they used to do? They used to block off some sections, make it a better atmosphere, have everybody sit low in the bowl. But, man, they could really capitalize off this.
Again, and this is, I don't know if this was my uncle making things a bigger deal than they actually were. But when I was a kid, before football games, we would go to Carver Hawkeye Arena, and the men's basketball team was always playing. Did you do that when you were a kid? Like, I remember watching Ricky Davis and Jess Settles and all these guys. Like, they would always be at Carver.
What do you mean?
Before football games. The basketball team was always there, like, signing autographs. Like, I remember watching Chris Kingsbury play. Like, it was just such a big deal. There would be,
but you know what they would do?
There.
They would travel around the state, and they would, in the off season, and they would play games at local high schools.
They came to my hometown
They came to Muscatine.
Yep,
and it was awesome. They played in my elementary school gym in like 1992. It was great.
Montier Glasper, Kenyon Murray, those groups.
I think they played against like the teachers at my school. It was crazy.
Now you'd have to pay him to do that. You're not just doing that for fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to have to get Bloom over there.
How can I get you guys to play a game at Ballard of Huxley?
He's got to get Big Rob energy. Got to get that check, man.
Rob, will you dunk on this hoop at the elementary school in Sheridan?
I think that's it for today. Our entire feed is now just about kids in the electric chair because of you.
I've sentenced kids younger than you to the electric chair. Didn't want to do it. Felt I owed it to them. That's what TB said.
Jesus.
Yeah. We've heard people say that. I've sentenced. That's your dad. That came from Clarinda Academy.
That's not my dad. My grandpa was the warden at the MHI, not my dad.
And
my dad mowed the yard for the axe murder house.
Uh-huh.
You're getting
what did your uncle do?
What did he do?
Yeah.
He worked at a factory.
What did they do at the factory?
They made ball bearings.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say, like, well, they made the utensils for the electric chair. They
Well,
they
in
manufactured
theory,
the needles that we'd stick into the arms of the kids.
It's this
Put 'em
Japanese factory that is in Clarinda. And
What? He worked at a Japanese factory?
It employs a lot of the town. It's the reason
My
our
uncle
town.
was making Nintendos in Clarinda.
That'd be awesome, actually. Yeah, like half the town works at this factory. This factory, the prison, and farmers. That's what they do.
Well, that's where everybody went when the academy closed down. They went over to the factory.
All right. Thanks to Fairway Meat and Grocery. We got a beautiful Fairway in Clarinda. We had Fairway handballs for Easter dinner last weekend.
I got back from my trip to Houston, and my wife said, "Yeah, there's some stuff for you over there that came." I said, "Is it the Fairway meat box?" No Fairway meat box. Still waiting.
Remember, if you're going to bet the Masters, use our friends at Circa. I promise you're going to get better odds. I will have that interview with Jeffrey Benson, the odds maker there at Circa, later on today. I'm doing that like late afternoon. So if you want that insight, wait until it'll be after 5, a little after 5 when I get that podcast posted.
Okay.
He's Chris Hassel. My name is Chris Williams. We appreciate you guys watching, listening, and supporting what we do here at Iowa Everywhere. Have a great rest of your work week.